Imagine you're sitting in a quiet room, perfectly at peace. Then someone nearby clicks a pen or takes a bite of an apple. For most, it's a minor background noise. But for some, these specific patterns trigger a sudden, intense burst of rage. This isn't just a bad mood. It's the result of a physical glitch in the way the brain processes sound. This condition is called misophonia. It occurs when specific, often soft sounds made by other people, like breathing, chewing, or tapping, set off an involuntary fight or flight alarm. The person isn't choosing to be angry. Their body is reacting as if it's under an immediate physical threat. While it might sound rare, misophonia is surprisingly common. A large-scale study in the UK discovered that nearly 1 in 5 adults experiences this to a degree that significantly impacts their daily lives and mental well-being. Because this reaction is written into the brain's physical wiring, it is impossible to stop through willpower alone. The panic and anger are biological reflexes, similar to the way your eye blinks automatically if something flies toward it. It's easy to confuse misophonia with other conditions, but the mechanics are quite different. There is hyperacusis, which makes everyday noises feel physically painful to the ears. While hyperacusis is about how loud a sound is, misophonia is about the specific pattern of the sound, even if it's a whisper. Then there is phonophobia, which is a fear of sound. People with this condition often worry about loud or sudden noises damaging their hearing. Misophonia is distinct because its primary flavor isn't fear. It's a sudden, sharp spike of anger and disgust. We also have to distinguish it from tinnitus, or ringing in the ears. Tinnitus is a sound generated inside your own head, while misophonia is always a reaction to a real sound happening out in the world. Because it's a reflex triggered by specific patterns rather than volume or ear damage, misophonia doesn't fit neatly into a single medical category. It sits right at the intersection where our hearing, our emotions, and our movements all meet. If you tested the ears of someone with misophonia, they would likely have perfect hearing. The auditory parts of the brain pick up the sound waves and decode them correctly. The trouble starts when the brain tries to decide what that sound means. Research identifies a unique hyperconnectivity in the misophonic brain. An oversized neural pathway links the auditory area directly to the motor region controlling the face. Hearing someone chew overactivates the Muir system, forcing the brain to involuntarily mimic the action, creating a feeling of physical invasion. This motor glitch sends a false alarm to the anterior insula, the brain's internal sensor for feelings and threats. This area handles our gut feelings and decides what is dangerous. When it's triggered, it pushes the body into an emergency state, causing the heart to race and the palms to sweat. This chart shows how the eye reacts to a trigger sound. Doctors use a technique called pupillometry to measure how the pupil, the black center of the eye, widens during a reaction. The more intense the misophonia, the more the pupil dilates in response to the sound, providing a clear, physical measurement of the distress. The body is screaming danger, so the brain provides the emotion to match. This constant cycle leads to a state called affective inflexibility, which we can think of as emotional stickiness. Once the brain locks onto a sound and labels it as a threat, it gets physically stuck. The person loses the ability to pivot their attention or ignore the noise, even if they want to. Being stuck like this leads to constant scanning. Sufferers become hypervigilant, always on the lookout for the next sound that might trigger a reaction. This chronic state of high alert is exhausting and keeps the nervous system on edge all day long. We now know this isn't just a learned behavior, it's in the DNA. Scientists found a specific genetic marker in the TENM2 gene that is linked to misophonia. This gene helps build the very neural networks that allow different parts of the brain to communicate. This genetic link also explains a strange overlap with ASMR, that relaxing, tingly feeling some people get from whispering or tapping. Both involve a biological shortcut where sound wires directly into the brain's emotional map, bypassing the usual filters that keep mundane noises in the background. This suggests that misophonia and ASMR are related outcomes of how our brains wire themselves. Depending on how those wires cross, a sound might bring comfort or acute physical danger. To understand how these crossed wires affect someone's life, Clinicians use tools like the Duke Misophonia questionnaire. This helps map out the social burden, showing how the condition can lead to isolation, career struggles, and a constant feeling of being misunderstood. One of the hardest parts of misophonia is that it often targets the people we love most. Because our brains are so highly tuned to the predictable habits of our family and partners, their sounds often trigger the most violent reactions. This can make simple moments like a family dinner feel like a battleground. Because the impact is so measurable, misophonia is increasingly recognized as a disability under laws like the ADA. This means students and employees have a legal right to reasonable accommodations, such as wearing noise-canceling headphones or having a desk in a quiet area. Treating this as a biological disability changes the conversation. It moves the focus away from blaming the individual for their temper and toward creating environments where their nervous systems can feel safe. While we don't have a cure yet, therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy are proving helpful. These programs don't make the sound go away, but they help the brain manage the emotional stickiness and reduce the constant scanning for threats. A promising new frontier is CC-PASS, which uses brain-shaping magnets. By placing a coil against the scalp, doctors send precise magnetic pulses to areas involved in the motor mirroring glitch. This dampens the overactive superhighway between hearing and moving, dismantling the trigger at its source. We are finally uncovering the physical mechanics behind these intense reactions. For those who have lived with this mystery rage, these targeted rewiring techniques represent a real path toward a quieter, calmer future. If you want to understand more about the fascinating ways the brain shapes our world, subscribe to SM Says Psych and let us know your thoughts in the comments.